So, what if I told you that the real secret to thinking like the top 1% isn't about being smarter? What if it's actually about thinking less? Yeah, I know it sounds kind of backward, but let's dive into it. We're about to break down 6 really powerful mental frameworks that separate the people who get stuff done from those who just, well, think about getting stuff done. And this quote right here from entrepreneur Layla Hormozi, it just nails it. This is our whole theme. It's not about raw brain power. It's about having a better mental toolkit. It's about being disciplined in how you think so that your thoughts lead straight to action instead of you getting tangled up in a web of complexity. All right, so let's get right into the main problem here. We're always told that to solve a big, hairy problem, you've got to think more, plan more, analyze every little detail. But honestly, that's usually a trap. This right here, this is the whole thing in a nutshell. Overthinking feels so productive, doesn't it? You feel like you're preparing, getting all your ducks in a row, but what's really happening is you're falling for a couple of nasty biases. Overconfidence bias, where you think your perfect plan just can't fail, and confirmation bias, where you're only looking for stuff that proves you were right all along. But in reality, it's just a really clever, sneaky way to avoid actually taking that first scary step. So, how do we actually break out of that endless loop? Well, the first 2 frameworks we're going to talk about are all about rewiring our brains, helping us see reality in a brand new, much more flexible way. First up, we have got to escape this trap of binary thinking. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that either-or logic. Either this project is a huge success or it's a total failure. Either I'm a good person or I'm a bad person. This way of thinking is just so rigid, it's unrealistic, and honestly, it just sets you up for failure because real life is messy. It's full of gray areas. And the fix is so simple, but it is absolutely profound. Top performers, they use and instead of or. This lets them hold 2 conflicting ideas in their head at the same time. Yeah, I'm scared, and I can still do this. See? You're acknowledging the fear, but you're not letting it paralyze you. This launch was a flop, and it was an incredible lesson. Just changing that one little word builds so much mental and emotional resilience. It's a game changer. Okay, this next framework, inversion thinking, basically flips the whole script. Most of us, we spend all this time trying to figure out the perfect recipe for success. But think about it. It is way, way easier to figure out what would absolutely guarantee failure. This is the question you need to be asking yourself. Let's take a big goal, like building a $100 million business. What would guarantee that it fails? Well, hiring the wrong people, for sure. Having zero tech to scale. Treating your team badly. Okay, boom. Now you have a crystal clear to don't list. Success just becomes about systematically avoiding all those traps. Okay, so we're starting to see the world a bit more clearly now. Let's talk about actually making better choices. These next 2 frameworks, they are designed to cut right through all that emotional baggage and help you make clean, sharp decisions. Oh man, we've all been here, right? We keep pouring time, money, and energy into a project that's clearly failing, or a job we hate, just because we've already invested so much. We don't want all that effort to be wasted. But top performers, they see it totally differently. For them, those past investments aren't a chain holding them back. They're the price of tuition. It's the cost of learning. It is not a reason to keep suffering. And this is your escape hatch from that sunk cost trap. And you gotta be brutally honest with yourself. Forget everything you've already put in. If you were standing right here, right now, with a completely clean slate, would you still make this choice? If the answer is no, it's time to move on. And look, this can be tough, but it's also incredibly freeing. Layla talks about shutting down a business she'd worked on for 2 years because when she asked this question, she realized she wouldn't start it today. And she said it was the most freeing day of her life. She even did it with a dog she adored. When her life changed, she asked the question and realized the right decision for the dog and for her was to find it a new home. It's all about serving the person you are today, not the person you were yesterday. This next one is so simple, but man, is it powerful. When your emotions are running high, your chances of making a dumb decision go through the roof. The rule is this simple. If you feel a really strong emotion, fear, anger, even crazy excitement, you just don't decide. You wait. The best decisions come from a place of calm and contentment, not intensity. And here's why. Fear makes you play not to lose, instead of playing to win. Stress makes you grab for short-term relief, instead of focusing on the long-term win. And anger, well, that just makes you do stupid, impulsive things. Layla tells this amazing story about being offered a $5 million discount on a deal if she signed right then and there. She felt this huge wave of panic and just said, "Nope, I gotta sleep on it." The next day, with a clear head, she realized she didn't trust the founder, and she walked away. 2 years later, that founder's company went to zero. That little pause saved for millions. All right, let's get to our final pair of frameworks. We're shifting gears now from making clear decisions to taking focused, effective action. This is all about figuring out what really, truly matters, and then having the discipline to stick with it. You see so many people just wasting their energy trying to improve everything all at once. Constraint thinking says that is a huge mistake. In any system, your business, your health, anything, there is almost always one single thing holding everything else back. That's the bottleneck. And here's the kicker. Improving anything that isn't the bottleneck is a complete and total waste of time. Let's use an example. Think about someone on a diet. They might be doing hours of cardio, lifting weights, following their meal plan to the letter, but if they're binge eating a pint of ice cream every single night, that binge is the only thing that matters. All that other hard work is basically pointless until the real constraint, the nightly binge, is fixed. It's the same in business. You can have the best customer service in the world, but if you can't get people to buy your product in the first place, that's your bottleneck. So you have to ask yourself right now, what is my real constraint? What is the one domino that, if I knock it over, will make everything else so much easier? And be honest with yourself, because it's almost always the thing you are avoiding the most, because it's the hardest problem to solve. And finally, we have time horizon anchoring. You know why most people fail? They just can't stick with a good plan long enough for it to actually work. See, our brains have this thing called recency bias. We put way too much importance on what just happened. So if we have a bad week, our brain starts screaming, "This isn't working! Abort! Change the plan!" The top 1% know how to override that internal panic button with a simple rule. The plan doesn't change because you feel like it's not working, or because you're bored, or because it got hard. The plan only changes when the cold, hard data proves objectively that it is no longer the right plan. It's about trusting the evidence, not your emotions. That's how you win the long game. Okay, that was a lot to cover. But just knowing this stuff isn't enough, right? Knowledge without action is pretty much useless. So let's turn these frameworks into a super practical challenge that you can literally start using today. For the next week, anytime you catch yourself overthinking, feeling stuck, or just spinning your wheels, I want you to stop. Just pause and ask yourself one of these 6 questions. This is your new toolkit. These questions are designed to cut right through the noise and force you to be clear, guiding you away from analysis paralysis and toward effective action. Because at the end of the day, this is the key takeaway. Real progress doesn't come from sitting around and thinking endlessly. It comes from having the discipline to use better mental models that simplify things and clear the path for you to actually do something. We started with this idea that overthinking is just procrastination wearing a smart-looking costume. Now you've got the tools to fight back. So the only real question left is, what action are you going to take today?